Hello everyone, let's look at this problem. We have two objects A and B. They will begin their journey at the same time, which means t0 for both of those objects would be 0 seconds. The initial velocity of object A is upwards. However, I don't know the magnitude, okay, of this velocity of object A. The initial velocity of object B is 20 meters per second towards the ground. Initial position of object B is 100 meters above the ground, or with respect to the origin of y-axis, okay, y equals 0 here, which is the same position of object A. Also, we know that those two objects will collide at this collision point when height is 50 meters above the ground. That's all I know. Of course, I know the acceleration g equals 10 meters per second square. Now, what we have to find? Part A, find collision time, and B, find initial velocity of object A. So, to answer part A, I will use object B because I do know everything about this object. I know the initial position, velocity, of course I know the acceleration. And to answer this question, I'm gonna use this formula, okay, for position of object B. Okay, so let's substitute the known values. Initial position is 100 meters. Initial velocity is minus 20 meters per second. The sign minus because the direction of this velocity, which is vector, is in opposite direction with respect to y-axis. That's why it's minus. The same goes to the acceleration. The sign also is minus here. As I said before, initial time is 0 seconds. So finally we have this expression for position function. Okay, so now we know that collision point when the height is 50 meters or the position is 50 meters, actually for both objects, but I'm talking about object B. So I'm gonna substitute this yb of t by 50 meters. Okay, now I'm gonna take this part and move it to the left. Okay, as you can see here. Okay, now 50 minus 100 will give us minus 50. Also, I see I can divide it by 5. Okay, the 5 divided by 5, it's 1. 20 divided by 5, it's 4. Minus 50 divided by 5 is minus 10. Okay, at this point, I know that you have ability to use your calculators and insert the coefficients of 1, 4, and minus 10, and you will get the result for the time. You get two results probably. One of them probably would be negative and second would be positive. Of course, you're going to use the positive because we're talking about t which is greater than 0 seconds. Okay. Now I'm going to use this formula. Maybe you know this formula. Okay, and I'm going to calculate the time that the collision time for this part A. Okay, so if I'm going to use all those coefficients, okay, as you can see here, the final result for collision time should be 1.74 seconds. And this is the solution for part A. Let's go over and see what we can do about part B. Find initial velocity of object A. Okay. Again, I'm going to use ya of t. Why? Because if, let's say, I'm thinking about using function v of t, a which is v0a minus 10t. Okay, I do know the time collision, however, I do not know the velocity at this point. So I have one equation with two unknowns. I don't know the velocity and I don't know the initial velocity. Okay, so I'm not going to use this formula. Again, I'm going to use formula that represents the position of object A. I'm going to use again this formula. Okay. So, where is it? Initial position of object A is 0 plus initial velocity that we need to find minus 5 divided minus 10 divided by 2, which will give us minus 5 times t squared. Again, I'm gonna use the time, the collision time that we found in previous part, which is 1.74 seconds, and we will use it here and here. Also, we know when the collision is occurs, then the position of A also is 50 meters. Okay, so we're gonna substitute the position of object A when the objects are collide, and of course the collision time. Okay, you can see it here. Let's move this part to the left, then you will see this expression. Now, because we need to find the initial velocity of object A, we need to divide both sides by 1.74, okay? And at this point, you need to take your calculators and you probably will get this result of 37.44 meters per second, which is this the initial velocity of object A. Okay, that's what we need to find. Yep. Okay, I'll see you in the next videos. Thank you very much. Bye.